find this. He has a master's in performance studies from Brown University, where his work focused on religion and theater. In the past, he has worked as assistant director of the performance installation at the Brooklyn Academy of Music and at the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. Currently, he works as a translator and has his first publication forthcoming with Oxford University Press, India, titled Militant Piety in Lines of Control. His poetry was first published in Midway Journal in 2017. Mustafa.
Hi. So I'm not going to read my poetry. You will. I'm actually going to read some ancient classical Persian and Arabic poetry with translation. But before I do that, just to give you some context of what I'm doing. So this is my book of poems. Each poem is just 2 lines. The best of them are only a few words. The immediate reference one thinks of is the haiku, but that's not my heritage, even though I'm influenced by it. The heritage is the classical ghazal, which goes back to the ancient Arabic form of the qasida. This is pre-Islamic desert Arabian poetry. Gets carried over into Persian, so you might be familiar with Rumi. All his poetry is in the same form, is the ghazal form. And my own personal heritage, which is from Pakistan, is the Urdu ghazal. So before I begin to explain the project, and that's all I'll be doing in the 10 minutes I have, I have like 6 copies of these, and I want to give these out to anyone who's bold enough to want one. And you can skim through them while I explain. So the dilemma here is that you don't have to listen to me while I talk. You can skim through the word and pick out any piece you like. And then when I'm done, you can just get up and read it, or you don't have to get up, you can just read it. And that's what we're doing. So I've got 6 copies. Anyone, if you raise your hand. If you don't, I'm just gonna start tossing them out. So, all right, yeah. I'm just gonna give these over. Here you go. Yeah. Anyone else? All right, here you go. We've got 2 more. It's called bloodletting, if that inspires you. That's all right. So we'll give one to this table. This over here. All right. Do I need a mic? I don't need a mic. Anyway.
We can hear.
So meanwhile, the poetry I'm going to give you is so just to give you some context for this. The ghazal is each ghazal is a series of couplets. The ghazal never has a title because there's no theme to the poems, to the couplets, right? In fact, great ghazals are those where the couplets contradict each other. So a poet might be in one couplet, he might be like, I'm having a great day, my lover's happy with me, everything's going great. And in the other one, he might be like, my lover's a homicidal maniac, I don't know what she's up to, etc., etc. So there's no title to the ghazal. Each couplet is an independent piece, right? The only thing that connects the couplets in a ghazal is rhyme and refrain. So I won't go into much detail about that, but that's why when you hear a ghazal, so the poets over here, or people interested in poetry, the closest European parallel I can give to the ghazal, just to explain the schizophrenia involved in its production, is the villanelle. So if you know the villanelle, how it keeps coming back to this refrain, and it might go off into different areas, and then it brings the reader back to the refrain. So that's the kind of schizophrenia involved in ghazal writing. Those of you who are reading the book will notice that each page just has a 2-line poem. So that's each couplet. So you can think of bloodletting as an extended ghazal, or you can think of it as just a series of couplets. The problem with American poets who've tried to translate the ghazal is that they've maintained the rhyme and refrain, but at the expense of the epigrammatical nature of each couplet. So what I've tried to capture in this is the epigram. Of course, we know the great epigrammatist Oscar Wilde, who's a great influence of mine as well. That's what I've tried to bring into this. Now, before going on into like seeing what you guys like from my compilation, I'll just give you an example of a 13th century poet from India, Amir Khusro. He's the guy credited with inventing the long-stemmed sitar, the Indian guitar, and also credited with creating the two-set hand drum, the tabla. And he also wrote poetry in multiple languages. Sometimes in a single poem, he wrote like in 2 languages. I'm just going to give you 2 couplets of a Persian ghazal that he wrote, and this will give you a sense of the irony involved in this kind of project. So I'll first read the Persian, the 2 couplets in Persian, and then I'll give you a translation, right? So in Persian, this is how it goes. It's like, Kafir ishkam musalmani mera dar khar nest, har rage man thar gashta, hajate zunnar nest. Khalq mi goyad, ke khusro but parasti mi kunad, are mi kunad, ba khalq mara kar nest. And the translation is, if you know the word kafir, you know the militants are using it all the time. We're going to kill all the kafirs, right? So the kafir is infidel, right? And ishq is love, right? So kafir ishkam musalmani mera dar khar nest, right? So that translates to, I'm a heathen for your love. Islam is of no use to me, right? This is a deeply religious Muslim scholar, by the way, who's saying this, right? So I'm a heathen for your love. Islam is of no use to me. My veins have turned to threads. Your threaded talismans are of no use to me. Right? So that's the first couplet. I'm a heathen for your love. Islam is of no use to me. My veins have turned to threads. Your threaded talismans are of no use to me. And the second couplet is, the world and all that's in it accuses me of idolatry. The world and all that's in it accuses me of idolatry, but the world and all that's in it is really of no use to me. Right? So that's what's going on with the ghazal. I've tried to bring that kind of epigram into bloodletting. The other thing I want to point out about this heritage is that anytime a poet is talking about being in love, he is lying, primarily because he's using all these metaphors as a platform to philosophize. So when he's talking about being in love with someone and her being a homicidal maniac, obviously, not only is he not talking literally, he might be just talking entirely hypothetically, right? He might not even have a specific person in mind. This is just a way of philosophizing. So that's what I've tried to do in bloodletting. The people I handed it out to, do you guys have a favorite out there that you want? Okay, great. And once you find one, also if you don't have one, you can just toss it to your neighbor and I'm sure they'll find something you might like. But go ahead, please.
Okay. Lonely people dress well.
There you go. All right, anyone else? No? Oh, that's it. All right, yeah. Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Yeah, okay. What do we have? Oh, even Mary had a little lamb.
All right. Great, thank you.
By your side, I count stars instead of sheep.
I'll bleed where I please.
All right, great. Anyone else? What was that?
Excellent.
Yeah. So each one of these, I mean, some of these have stories. Other ones have like couplets behind them. I'm not going to go into the backstory because that's the whole point, to decontextualize all this stuff. So this was one way of doing the reading. And the other one was, so there are 121 in this, and that's significant as well because 11 is a sacred number in mystical Islam. So it's 121 is 11 squared. The last one is sort of my favorite, which is why I put it right at the end. But also if you throw out a random number between 1 and 121, I could flip through it. I mean, I think I have more time, right? So,
Couple minutes.
all right, so I could do that. So, or if you want to pass the copy around and anyone else finds something, they can read it. But if you want to give me a number, I'll just go through it and look at that. So between 1 and 121.
39.
All right, let's look what's 39.
I know.
Oh, we've done that one.
11.
11, yeah. 11's a good number, right? Because it's already in there. There is no God. Swing by more often. That's number 11.
48.
48's a 2-line poem, so each line has one word, right? So 2 words. Thieves pray.
53.
My God has needs.
34.
All right, should that be the last one? 34? Okay. 34. Your magi presence comes bearing gifts. All right, so I've got 6 copies out there. They're for sale. I was trying to price them. I thought I'd do $11 because it's all 11. But then I thought I'd do $111 for a copy. So anyway, if you want to buy them, just you can come up to me and give me a wink and a smile or a drink or some money, and I'll give them to you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I feel we should also say, when we published the pieces, when Mustafa approached me about these poems, he told me about the fact that he had sent some of these to a friend of his who very secretively, had her husband found out that she had done this, probably could have died. She wrote several of them, numerous of them, a dozen of them, on different parts of her body, took pictures of the poems on her body, sent them to Mustafa, and those are the poems we published at Midway. So I encourage you to look those up. Yes? The words on the flesh.
I've also got a website with those pictures, so if you're interested, I can give you the link.
Yeah, we only published it.
Right.
So our final reader for this evening is Yon Sanchez. Yon is a native of